Welcome to the Easy Baby podcast, where we share practical tips and information to make your pregnancy and the first months of your baby's life the best they can be. Visit easybaby.co.za for more information on our online courses.
Okay, hello moms and dads, and welcome back to the Easy Baby podcast. Thank you again for downloading us. This is our 7th episode, and today we are going to move into the murky waters of breastfeeding. This is not my speciality, and because of that, I have brought on Samantha Crompton onto the show. How are you doing, Sam?
Hi, Mark. Thanks for bringing me here today, and hello to the parents out there.
Cool. Now, Samantha has a Bachelor of Nursing degree from Wits University. She's qualified in general nursing, midwifery, psychiatric, and community nursing. She also worked at Well Baby Clinic for a couple of years, and then the corporate carrot quarter until she had her own children. And through the journey of having her own children, giving antenatal classes, and running mother and baby support groups, she realized that breastfeeding is extremely stressful for many mothers, herself included. And with the breastfeeding rate sitting at around 7% after 6 weeks, it's clear that there is not much quality help out there for moms. So she's currently completing her SACLC course through WITS and helping one mom at a time make her breastfeeding relationship positive. And it is that. It's a relationship.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, we call it the breastfeeding dyad. So, and I actually like the triad because I like to include dads in it as well. But that's what it is, and we want to make it positive so that moms can go an extra day at a time.
I wanted to talk to you today specifically, and we will talk in the future a lot about different things in breastfeeding, but today I wanted to talk about the myths surrounding breastfeeding. We'll start off with, why are there so many myths around this breastfeeding?
Well, you know, there's a lot of cultural things that come into play, but for me, what it really is that we've really lost the ability to trust our bodies. And I think we need to learn to trust our bodies again. There's like the overuse of medical intervention. I mean, it's necessary at times, but that trust in our bodies that we're going to, you know, grow our babies, deliver them and nourish them properly, I think we need to learn to get that back.
I suppose we're in a society where from the moment you find out you're pregnant, it's almost like someone else is in charge. And it's so important to be able to go, hang on a second, I can do this. Yeah. This is something that I'm programmed to do. Millions of years has gone into this creation of what I have and what we can do.
Absolutely.
So I suppose it's, as you say, it's trust.
Yeah, I actually read something today. The woman used the phrase overkill of intervention, and I loved it because, I mean, that's almost what it is, this overkill of intervention. Just, you know, let's trust what we can do with our bodies. So I think that's what we're going to look at today, is trusting our bodies again.
A lot of moms, I know, and probably a couple of the myths come from this, is that it's very overwhelming initially. I mean, we were talking just now before we started about World Health Organizations talking about 2 years. Yeah. And a mom starts with the first couple of weeks and she's going, oh, this is a bit painful. It doesn't feel right. I've got to do 2 years of this.
Yeah.
How do we approach someone like that?
Well, I like to break it down for the moms and say, don't look at it as saying, I have to breastfeed my baby for 2 years. Okay. Break it down and say, I want to breastfeed my baby for 2 weeks. Once we get through 2 weeks, let's try 6 weeks. Once we get through 6 weeks, let's try 12 weeks, you know, and so we go. And I find once the moms get to 6 months, they generally do a year.
Because you've been doing 6 months one day at a time.
Yeah, and then by the time they get to 6 months, they're almost like, oh, I don't actually want to stop. And they've got such a good relationship with their baby then that it's hard to almost stop and slow down. So
but
they
that's
usually
brilliant.
Get to a year.
You've taken the focus off, it's this big, massive, scary thing.
Yeah.
And you've turned it into one day, one step. We'll fix the little problems as we go. And at the end of the day, you're going to be doing this huge thing and you're not even going to be thinking about it.
You don't even notice it. And then moms look back and they post on Facebook, I've been breastfeeding for a year, and they didn't even notice.
Yeah, so. And Facebook gives you those little reminders now. That's
those little certificates that you can post.
I actually saw one that I was in Durban last year at this time. So I don't know exactly what's happening with my life, if I should be in Durban again or if I should be on holiday at the moment. But I'm much happier being here recording this episode on breastfeeding. Awesome. So we're going to go straight into the first myth. And this is a myth that we come across a lot in practice. We both do. And it's that the first milk is not enough for my baby. I need to top up until my actual milk comes in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing this a lot as I come into the hospital saying, you know, I had to give my baby top-ups in the hospital because I didn't have enough milk, or my milk hadn't come in yet. You know, and that's why we're also trying to change that phrasing a little bit to mature milk as opposed to the milk coming in, because it gives you this idea that you didn't have milk in the beginning.
Let's talk a little bit about the differences of milk, because we don't start off with a full milk supply.
No, absolutely not. So what creates the milk supply is once your placenta is removed, so your baby's being fed 24/7 from the placenta, and now once that placenta is removed, it now needs to change to actually feeding from the breast. So the first milk is your colostrum. And I think when moms hear this term that it's measurable in, 5 mils, it doesn't sound like it would ever be enough to feed your baby.
Sure,
5 to 7
and you're
mils.
born with this feeling of, I'm now responsible for this. I must give. And it's all as much, because it's all social things as well. We must now, everything must be for this baby. So now,
Absolutely.
5 mils, that can't be enough.
Can't be enough. So a way to get around teaching these moms and managing the expectations around this is to say, let's take a look at baby, okay? Because this is the person we have to nourish.
Take a look at who you're feeding.
Yes, exactly. So if we look at our baby's stomach size, so the day it's born on day 1, that baby's stomach is the size of a marble. Okay, so
but it's really good to put that in perspective, the size of a marble. I mean, just close your eyes very quickly and think of the size of a marble and how much it would take to fill the size of a marble.
Fill that, yeah. So if the baby's stomach is the size of a marble, 5 mils is enough. 5 to 7 mils is more than enough. And the colostrum is easily digestible. So that 5 mils is enough to fill it. And then the other thing in terms of managing your expectations is realizing that these small frequent feeds, so the baby's capacity isn't big enough to hold it for long periods of time. So we've been given this idea that your baby feeds every 4 hours. Okay. And I think if we can sort of break that down and say, well, if the baby's stomach is the size of a marble and we're filling it with 5 mils, and then that colostrum is so easily digested, we need those frequent feeds. So then you're looking at more feeding every 2 hourly. And I think that's where we need to get our head around.
I go along with this. I'm very fascinated with the anthropology of babies.
Yeah.
And I came across a brilliant article that talked about, because we are a carrying species, because we are a species of ape, we have breast milk, which is low in protein, low in fat, and high in carbohydrate. And the idea behind that breast milk is that it's very easily digestible and it's very quickly digested. So we need to be close to our parents and we need to be fed all the time.
Constantly, yeah.
And these 4-hour gaps, interestingly, and I can't back this up for you right now, but I did hear that the 4-hour gap comes from World War II, because that is the spacing between when they could get to orphans.
Potentially, I have no
That's
idea.
how long it took them to. So as I say, I can't back that up, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if because a lot of the stuff we do nowadays is just legacy, and we don't know why we do it.
That's where these myths come in, and if you're going back, the only reason we're doing this is because our mom told us, and then her mom told her, and so we don't know where it based from. So we say, let's take it back and look at the baby's, anatomy and physiology, and let's have a look at this. So
let's do what's best.
Best for this baby right now. So, and then day 3, you're looking at the size of a gun marble, which is not much bigger.
I just remember the gun marble.
A gun. I mean, we all have gun marbles. Come on. We were all kids that we played marbles, and they're on their way back, I see.
I see so as well, yes.
Yeah. So, and then day 10, we're only looking at the size of a golf ball.
That's amazing.
So it's
But also what's amazing is if you look, in 10 days, you've gone from the size of a marble to the size of a golf ball. The amount of growth that's happening in these children is unbelievable. So the milk must change.
Yes. So that's the thing, is our milk is designed to change with our baby's growing needs. So these early days, you're looking at your colostrum, and then between days, 4 to 7, because it differs for, different women, they are individuals. And then the milk changes slowly into your more mature milk. And to put it simply is that your colostrum will always be there. So the minute the placenta is removed, you will have colostrum.
Okay.
But then your mature milk, it's a supply and demand issue. So that's just where your small frequent feeds come in. And
by small frequent feeds, you are managing that flow and you're managing your production.
Yes.
And it's very important to get that right in the beginning to keep that
keep going. Supply equals demand. That's the bottom line of it. But the colostrum is so important for the babies, and they need to be getting it. Another thing the colostrum does is it's actually playing a role in the baby's gastrointestinal system, where it's actually almost putting a waterproof paint on their system. And the minute you add other things in, so the minute you're topping up with that formula bottle, there's lovely articles called "Just One Bottle, Will It Make a Difference?" And we're saying yes, it will, because it actually sloughs away at that layer. And this is where we're starting with our problems.
So this layer we're talking about is the colostrum goes down into the intestine. And one of the things with tiny babies is that they have these big porous holes when it comes to the intestine. And a lot of the time when things move through, or things that are too big move through, or things that can be allergenic move through, you can start these allergic reactions really early.
Yeah.
And that's where colostrum sits and comes and lines those and keeps
so it's
those
like
on.
seals it, and then I think we're just sealing it, and you're preventing these foreign objects from getting through. So, and this is where our cramping and our what you're saying basically is starting to come through.
Yeah, these are the babies that I see with the cramping in it, exactly. And I think we will do a show later on just on HIV and breastfeeding, but this highlights how important that just one bottle changes things, because breastfed babies can have HIV positive moms can breastfeed babies, but they cannot use anything else but breast milk.
Yeah, they cannot mix feed. So if the moms really need to be counseled in that your HIV positive mom can breastfeed, but there are strict rules, and it has to be pure breastfeeding. They cannot mix feed. That one bottle of formula can create a problem.
Takes that lining away,
removes it, and they're getting inflammation actually. So your HIV positive babies get an inflammation in their gut.
Okay, and for HIV positive babies, we can't be having that.
No.
Okay, so that's that myth covered. Now, one that's really close to my heart: is it normal for breastfeeding to hurt? Should it hurt? Should it be painful?
The short answer is no. It should not be painful.
Okay.
The word I like to use in the early days is there can be some nipple discomfort. Okay, and so moms are saying that's just a polite way of saying it hurts like hell. But it's not. It really is not. So what we're finding with the breast pain, because I mean this is where I get called. Is this is hurting. So what I find moms is, because they believe in this myth saying that breastfeeding should hurt, they are then powering through the pain. So they're sitting at home on their own with this idea that breastfeeding should hurt, and they're just making the problem worse and worse and worse.
Okay, so very important to make that distinction between discomfort. It's fine, it's something you've never done before, it's a very different thing, but it shouldn't come to the point of being painful. Like you are pulling away. You were relating a story just now when you see moms.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the mom, and I you take a history and you say to her, is it painful? And she sort of gives you this, I'm a soldier, so no, it's not painful.
Because moms are stormtroopers.
Yeah, I can't complain because it's my baby and I have to feed them. And then as I'm bringing the baby towards them, I actually see these moms climbing up into the back of their chair, trying to get away from me. And I'm like, no.
Instinctually, because...
because they know this is about to be the most excruciating thing they've ever done. And I'm saying to you, no, that's not the positive breastfeeding relationship we were talking about in the beginning. That's not there.
So let's go through a couple of reasons that the discomfort could be there.
Okay, so really the mild discomfort comes with, as the baby latches on, they need to create the letdown reflex. So any mom who's breastfed a baby knows that as they latch on, they're like little barracudas almost. They're like suck, because this baby knows it's got to create the letdown. And we're finding the moms have a little bit of increase in discomfort that peaks around day 3. Okay, because this is when this baby's getting into this, and moms are getting a little bit sensitive. And then, but this early discomfort shouldn't last longer than the 2-week period. So if it's lasting longer than that, no good. And if there's nipple damage, so in terms of like we're talking cracks, blisters, bleeding, that's not normal. That's absolutely not normal.
Yeah, and I was relating a story to you before we started, where I had a mom that was breastfeeding her baby, took the baby off, and baby's mouth was full of blood. And you think to yourself, I mean, you just go into a flat panic, and it turns out that it's from a crack in the nipple.
Crack in the nipple, yeah.
But it can be devastating because you start rushing off to emergency rooms and things like that.
Yeah, because you don't know, and I mean, you don't know where it's coming from, and then the moms worry that the baby shouldn't be drinking, that blood and that milk, which is, it's actually fine. They're better off having the breast milk, even if it's a little bit of a rusty color.
Oh, right. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can continue with the breast milk, but we need to fix that latch. We need to fix the problem because she's gonna stop breastfeeding. We don't want pain. So
I can imagine that being a huge reason.
Yeah, it is. It's a large reason.
Yeah.
So, where you must get help. So when you're experiencing like this intense, excruciating pain, don't power through. Don't power through. This is when you need to be seeing someone, and saying, there's something wrong. There's something wrong here.
This is when you count your lucky stars you live in 2015, and that help is there, and that help comes in the form of people like you.
Yeah, and then when the pain is going through the entire feed, that's also not normal. So I was talking about the letdown. So the discomfort should only be lasting for those first 30 seconds until the letdown comes in. Because the minute that oxytocin comes through, it's almost like an analgesic, and it should be relaxed. So I train my moms to say, as that baby latches on, slowly count to 10, like 1, 2, up to 10. And if that pain hasn't gone away, we need to take that baby off and start again.
Okay.
Get that latch right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
You have put down here in one of my notes that the nipple should look the same immediately after the feed.
Yes.
I find that really, really interesting because I'm sure that a lot of moms will look down, see a nipple that has been flattened or broadened out and sort of think, well, he's just really hungry.
Yeah, they were just clamping down. And that's what we don't want. Because if the moms take the babies off and this nipple is like we call it a lipstick shape because that's often the shape that it has, and it's blanched, so it's like got white. Like if you squeeze your finger for too long and then it goes
you push
white.
all the blood out.
Yeah, you push all the blood out. That's not normal. That baby wasn't latched correctly.
Okay.
So it's another way we
Good
teach
sign.
our moms.
Good sign.
So it must still be round, not misshapen, and it must be that nice pink color that they had before the baby started to feed.
Perfect.
So a great way to check your latch.
Okay, our next myth that we'd like to go through, my baby feeds all the time. And that must mean that I don't have enough milk, or my milk is not strong enough.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit to this.
So, I mean, we're hearing this all the time where the moms are saying, they feel like they're feeding all the time. So, again, I'm linking back to my point of expectations. Okay, so how often were you expecting to feed your baby? Because I think if you're expecting to feed your baby 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period, it doesn't seem like a lot because that's what you were expecting to do. But when you're expecting to do, 5 4-hourly feeds and suddenly this baby's feeding every 2 hours.
Sure.
You do feel maybe this baby's hungry, my milk's not good enough. And then again, linking back to we don't trust our bodies.
Yeah.
So our immediate thought is my milk's not strong enough. There must be something wrong with me.
Please feel free to contact the show at any time with questions you may have or topics you would like us to cover in future shows. Email us at info@easybaby.co.za.
Another thing to teach our moms is really look at growth spurts. Okay, or some of the books call them frequency days. Okay, so this links into supply and demand. So we're back to the more, to increase our supply, there needs to be an increase in demand. So nature is very clever, and she said these babies are going to have a growth spurt, so they are growing, and our milk is changing. So how do we get that milk? How do we get our supply to increase? Simple. For 2 to 3 days during a growth spurt, the baby will feed more frequently, because that way, naturally, your milk supply will increase.
So they, by the fact that they are feeding so much, they are increasing your milk supply.
Your milk supply.
And it's a really interesting time. Well, I say interesting, but I mean, it's this time where you're feeding and you're going, but it's not working.
Yeah.
It's just, I fed and it's like, it's an hour later. That's the phrase I hear is, how can you be hungry?
Exactly. So, the growth spurts, the frequency days, human milk is digested in 90 minutes. Okay, but it doesn't mean the baby's going to feed every 90 minutes. But it does mean that, in these frequency days, that can happen because the baby is wired to increase that milk supply. Okay. And your growth spurts are usually around 2 weeks. And we say 3 weeks again because that's either a really long one or there's a bit of a break in between. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Another big one is your 6 weeks. 12 weeks, and then there is a 16-week one, which we really just monitor because moms often want to start solids at that point.
Because that's the tricky one.
Yeah.
That's when you start to think, I wonder if I didn't give solids if they'd sleep through.
They'd sleep through the night, yes.
I'm with you on that.
So that's the thing. And then the other problem here is this is where our moms then start giving the formula. Because, I mean, I've done it. You are tired. These frequency days are tiring. But I think if you're expecting them,
if your expectation is right,
Yeah.
if you've been primed that this is something that can happen and it's within normality.
Yes, you're going to get there. And then the problem comes in is if you do then start giving that formula during these frequency days, what you're telling your body is, oh, there's no demand now, so my supply is dropped. So then when that baby's now grown and it needs that extra milk, your body hasn't produced that because you were supplementing with something other than your human milk.
You've missed the boat. You've missed the point of the biology.
And then we might be starting to head into a low milk supply.
Okay.
And we have to fix that. But that's where the myth comes in.
We talked a little bit about the fact that nursing is not just about food. It's not just about nutrition.
No,
there's a lot
not.
more to it. There's this closeness, this comfort.
Yeah. I mean, I describe it as, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, anyone who's done psychology in first year varsity has done it.
Anyone who ate terrible food in first year varsity knows Maslow.
So if we look at his bottom layer, obviously it's food and water and all that, but it's safety, it's security, it's that feeling of security, and babies need that. So that's why we like the kangaroo care, we like things like that, because sometimes the babies just want to suckle for the comfort, just to know mom's there, just to feel mom, just to, get that warmth and that security feeling from the mom.
And on the sort of physiological side, the non-nutritive sucking comes in, which is a very autonomic nervous system thing, and it's that sucking is like twice the rate of feeding sucking, and it's there just to calm them down.
Yes.
And I mean that's something that doesn't go away in older kids. Dummies, thumbs. It's always a mechanism of calming.
I mean, your baby's whole sensory world is around their mouths, so that's where they need to calm. They need to self-soothe, they need to calm, and it's just one way they do it. It's just to chill themselves down a bit. So we do allow some of that. Yeah, we do allow
I'm
some
with
of
you.
that.
I'm just remembering that I saw a wonderful picture the other day with Maslow's hierarchy with Wi-Fi underneath.
But that's the teenagers' hierarchy. That's not us.
You have to have Wi-Fi.
Yes,
underneath.
it's right there at the bottom with food and water and shelter. Yeah.
I like that. Okay, and then prioritizing your to-do list.
Yes. So this is again managing your expectations, and I hear moms who are trying to do their MBA during their maternity leave, and all these random things. So
moving house.
Exactly.
All of these
we
things.
do all these things. We plan all these things during maternity leave because we're having a holiday. And I say to the moms, the reason you're on maternity leave is to be with your baby. So if nothing else gets done. I mean, I always laugh at my mom because she thinks the world's going to end if our beds aren't made. And I want to tell the moms it's not, if your beds aren't made that day, doesn't matter.
It's okay.
So look at your week and look at what has to be done. Okay. And those things have to be done. Okay. And unfortunately, when we're looking at baby 2 or 3, you've got other kids at home. There are certain things that have to be done. But other than that, you feed your baby,
again,
and you feed yourself. So,
it's like we were talking about those small goals.
Yes.
Just the small
Little
goals. And it's the way to approach this whole baby thing.
Yeah, a little day, and I think some of the moms often feel guilty sitting at home doing nothing. Well, they feel they're doing nothing.
I think something that is shining through this show is manage your expectations.
Absolutely.
If you understand what it is that you're getting into, if you understand the why, you can get the how.
Exactly.
Really easy.
Great.
I'm into that. Okay, now another myth that we'd like to bust now, I hope that's not trademarked or copyrighted, is pumping is a good way to see how much milk I have.
Yeah, I hear this all the time. The moms come to me and they say to me, I don't have enough milk because I was only able to pump 30 mils, whatever. Sure. And I say to the moms, pumping is a good way to see how much milk you can pump.
I love that.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, we're also looking at, depending on where are you at this pumping stage. Yeah. So if a mom's, she's got a fully established breast milk supply and she's already back at work and she's pumping for the whole day out, it's different to the mom who is pumping to see how much milk she has.
It's a very specific thing we're looking at here.
Yeah, so pumping for, to see how much milk she has, or in between, you must remember she's breastfeeding her baby full time here. So anything she's pumping is over and above what this baby has already eaten. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is that there are so many factors with regards to pumps. So if we look at, I'm going to look at pumps now, and in those first few days, it's really, you cannot actually pump a colostrum with an electric breast pump.
This is something you've taught me. I didn't realize that.
You know, you can, but it is really difficult. And if we're back to our 5 mils. Okay, so if we think about a breast pump and 5 mils.
It's going to splatter on the side of the...
It's just going to be on the side of the pump, and it's so thick that it's actually really difficult. So we're really trying to teach our moms to go back to that art of hand expression. And I mean, we always talk about Facebook and that, and there are amazing YouTube videos out there on how to actually hand express, and we are teaching our moms good techniques of hand expression, because that's how you get the colostrum out.
And that's something that do you guys teach that in lactation consulting? It's a bigger thing.
Actually teaching. I don't think it's been emphasized enough, but our tutors and things like that are really pushing this, teaching the hand expression as well. And you know, for the first 2 weeks and even up to 6 weeks, hand expression is sometimes far more effective than your pumps. Okay, we are obsessed with pumps. Sorry, I just thought of this now. I was hearing a story from, I was at one of the Gauteng breastfeeding forums the other day, and they were telling us the story of, in a small village somewhere, I'm not going to quote where it was, the fathers are so involved with breastfeeding that for, as the baby is born, they are actually the ones who hand express the milk, and they have no breastfeeding problems, because the men are in charge of essentially hand expression or getting the milk out and things, and those people have no supply problems. If we could get the dads more involved in the breastfeeding, because even though you feel you're not involved, if you look at some of the qualitative research that's out there, one of the big reasons why moms continue breastfeeding or stop breastfeeding has got a lot to do with their partner.
Wow.
The support they're getting from their partner. So, because some dads are really supportive, and they're the ones almost, you know, helping this whole situation. The moms get through the difficult times. And then you almost get I don't understand this, let's just give the baby a bottle. Like, there's a solution to this problem.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
Because we see, and a lot of the information is not quite at our fingertips, but the bottle is.
Yes.
And Dave down the road did it, and they're fine.
And their baby's fine. So,
you know, and I get you. I do it when I'm at work with couples. There are certain times where I'll say things like, if the dad can watch the latch, you know, get involved a little bit. Just watch, because your vantage point is slightly different from mom's vantage point to see, is that latch working? Is the whole areola going into the mouth? All of that.
I mean, what I do is for the moms who, if I'm alone with a mom, I actually take her phone and I video and I take photos of the latch, because at least then she can watch what I'm seeing and see what I'm taking from there. And if we are lucky and the dads are there, I show the dads how to position, you know, where it is. So we're actually bringing the dads in from that perspective, and the dads love the fact that I'm, you know, showing them to take a photo, and then they can almost, you know, I'm not talking clipboard and whistle stuff, but they can coach the moms into you know, what is happening here, and it really does help. So
I think that's the thing for a lot of dads is we're confused and we want to help, but we don't know what to do. So if we can get step-by-step instruction just to help and to be able to be part of the process, I think.
And then just looking back at pumps again is also to look at your pump. You know, a lot of moms tell me they can't get milk, you know, how much milk are they pumping? And I'm saying, let's look at your pump. Is the flange that's coming over you too small? Because majority of the cases we get there, and it is a problem. So they're being sold a standard pump, but they've never actually looked at there are different sizes and things like that. They're going to look at the age of the pump, because they are expensive. So a lot of the moms are, you know, second-hand, you know, borrowing and things like that.
And that's going to happen.
You know, you've got to look at there are a lot of factors. So what my message is, I don't want moms to say, I can only pump 30 mils, therefore I don't have milk. That's the bottom line, is what I don't want to say.
Okay, I'm with you. You. Okay, now I want to tread into some dangerous territory here. The myth here is formula-fed babies sleep better.
Yes. So I think everyone hears that, and you're right. It's dangerous territory, because there's a lot of moms who firmly believe this, and they're actually teaching their friends or telling their friends, you know, give that bottle at night before bed, and the baby will, you know, sleep for longer periods. So there is the reason for that is that human milk is easier to digest than the formula. So the opposite is that the formula milk is more difficult to digest. And the longer it sits in the stomach for longer. So therefore the time space in between the feeds will actually be longer. So I think the thought is then that your baby is sleeping better. But we got to look then at quality versus quantity.
Sure.
So if we're looking at some of the research that's gone into this, and obviously it's all qualitative research, so it's moms reporting it. But what they're finding is that the breastfed babies do sometimes feed more often, so sleeping less, especially up to the 4-week period. But then from 4 weeks on, we're actually finding there's a non-significant difference between your breastfed babies and your formula-fed babies in terms of quality and quantity of sleep that they are getting.
That is, it's brilliant that research brings that out, because I think what we perceive to be common knowledge overrides that. And even if it's not true, enough people are believing it that it is true.
It is true. It becomes the myth becomes a fact.
Okay.
And then another thing to look at is breastfed mothers who are breastfeeding. Sometimes their quality of sleep is actually a little bit better, just from the physiological side of breastfeeding and the things. So that's the other thing to look at is your quality versus quantity again. So even though they're sleeping slightly less hours, we need to look at the quality of their sleep that they are getting.
Okay, I just want to do a couple of little quick fire ones with you.
Yes.
Okay. A couple of just one or two little myths that have been kind of going around.
Sure.
Small breasts. I have small breasts. Am I not going to be able to make enough milk?
The breast size doesn't necessarily. We have small breasts, not getting enough milk. Huge breasts, you must be able to supply Pick n Pay. That's the myth, and it's got nothing to do with. It's got nothing to do with breast size. It's got to do with how much tissue is in the breast. So, breast size and storage capacity aren't always linked.
Fantastic.
Definitely not always linked.
Okay, I have twins. I have triplets. Am I designed to be able to feed 3 babies?
And the simple answer is yes. Because remember, we're going back to our supply and demand
Because
issue.
you'll have 3 demanding, and you'll create that supply.
So, obviously multiples, there are different factors involved in this. But in terms of pure supply, there's most definitely if there's no other factors in there. Yes.
Another quick myth, colostrum is dirty. And I kind of understand where that comes from, because your expectation is you're going to get milk.
Milk, so white, beautiful,
what is this
pasteurized
gooey,
milk.
yellowy stuff going on?
Yeah, so there are some cultures and beliefs that the colostrum is dirty and it shouldn't be fed to the baby. So they almost say you've got to pump it out, get rid of it and toss it. And
get rid of your own natural antibiotic.
Exactly, because that's one thing we didn't say with the colostrum. It's nature's first vaccine. So it makes us really sad when that happens. But they are out there, and some babies who are being fed water for the first 2 days till the mature milk comes in.
Sure.
So.
Well, this is where education in a show like this becomes really important. Yeah. Okay, the last quickfire myth I'd like to go through with you. My milk is a bluish colour. Is there a problem if breast milk is a bluish colour?
Not really. Breast milk is. Everyone's looks different. Everyone tastes a little bit different. But sometimes, if we really pump it out and we have a look at it, it does have a blue tinge, almost like skim milk. If you look at skim milk, it's got like a little bit of a bluish tinge to it. But no, it's fine. It's very rare that there's something wrong with your breast milk.
Right, so those are the myths of breastfeeding. Thank you very much, Sam, for coming through.
Awesome.
Have you got some contact details for me, please?
Yes, I'm in the sort of North Riding Fourways area, so if moms are looking for me, they can find me on Facebook, even though we diss Facebook often. It's a great source of revenue for people like us. So,
absolutely.
I'm the baby lady, and if you're looking for me on Twitter, I'm at the baby lady 243.
Good.
And then you can contact me on my email address. That's samanthacrompton243@gmail.com.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for downloading the podcast, and thank you very much for hanging out with us yet again. Remember that if you got value out of this show, please hang out on iTunes just for a second longer and give us a review. We're not looking for a 5-star rating. We're just looking for the rating that you feel is appropriate. Also, remember you can get us on Stitcher and on TuneIn Radio now. TuneIn.com is also doing podcasts, and we will be there. Right, we will catch up with you probably in about 2 weeks' time. Thank you again for downloading us, and enjoy your baby.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And remember to check out our pre- and postnatal education courses at easybaby.co.za. You got this.